Sagittarius, there's a truth that no longer hides in the dark, and the universe wants you to be the first to know. Someone once stabbed you in the back, pretending nothing ever happened, but deep within your intuition, you felt it. Karma had already begun to turn. In this message, I'll reveal what the cards have whispered. The one who betrayed Sagittarius will crumble, and you won't need to lift a single finger, because truth will rise on its own. Write this down. I am ready to receive the justice the universe has prepared for me. This isn't just a comment, it's a soul declaration from a Sagittarius who has grown wiser, not seeking revenge, only seeking clarity. And when you choose forgiveness, the universe will choose to protect you. In the next part, I'll show you why. The brighter your light shines as a Sagittarius, the more the surrounding shadows begin to reveal themselves. There's a strange truth I've learned. After years of reading the sky and listening to stories whispered in the dark, those who carry true light are often mistaken for bringers of chaos. And you, Sagittarius, you are living proof of that. You don't try to capture attention, yet your very presence shifts the energy in the room. You don't strive to please anyone, yet your heart is so soft, you'd rather get hurt than extinguish the last hope you see in this world. They trusted too easily. That's what people say about Sagittarius. But the truth is, because you trusted early, you saw more deeply into the core of others. You didn't put up walls, you didn't calculate your next move. And because of that, you became a mirror, one that reflects the truth that many are too afraid to face. I once saw a Sagittarius cry, not because they were weak, but because they had just realized that the one they trusted the most was the very person pulling the pin behind their back. They didn't scream, they didn't beg for an explanation. They just went quiet, but in their eyes, I saw a question that had never been answered. Why is a sincere heart the one most punished? Let's make something clear. Sagittarius is not naive. They choose to trust. And that is an entirely different kind of strength. That choice is what makes you noble, Sagittarius. In a world filled with silent wounds and hidden knives, you are not foolish for choosing to still be kind. Even after betrayal, you are not weak for forgiving someone without needing their apology. And you are not wrong for remaining true to yourself, even when others see you as naive. Perhaps you've lived through those lonely moments, when everyone turned their backs on you, all because of a single rumor, or worse, when you tried to speak up for yourself, but no one stayed long enough to hear your full truth. They said, you're too hot-headed, you're too impulsive. But no one ever asked, where did your pain come from? In all my years of astrology, I've seen many zodiac signs carry silent beauty, but only Sagittarius turns pain into light, and sometimes that light is so bright, it makes others uncomfortable. But hear me now, you do not need to shrink yourself just so others can feel safe. You were born to illuminate the way, not to bow your head. There's a lesson that Sagittarius often learns later than most. Not everyone is worthy of the light you bring. And the saddest truth is this: the ones you loved the most, the ones you protected the hardest, were often the first to make you question your own worth. But still, you did not change. You simply became quieter, sharper, and perhaps a little more distant. Just enough to keep your heart from breaking again. Not everyone understands how you love. Not everyone is mature enough to receive the kind of light you offer, and not everyone knows. The silence of a Sagittarius is often the last sign before they walk away for good. They'll miss you when they realize there's no one else who brings the same freedom and safety all in one. They'll regret losing the one person who stood by them even when the entire world turned its back. If you've ever been the light mistaken for darkness, leave a comment. I don't need to prove I'm right, I just need to live in truth. Because that's not just a message to the universe, it's a vow to yourself. In your Sagittarius birth chart, Jupiter, the planet of expansion and faith, shines strong. It urges you to always search for meaning even in your pain. But the shadow side of that gift is this: you tend to give second chances, even to those who never deserved the first. And maybe, just maybe, that's why some people thought you would always stay, no matter how many times they hurt you. I once spoke to a Sagittarius who had just walked out of a marriage built on lies. She gave a quiet smile and said, I don't hate him, I just feel sad that he never got to see the best version of himself while I still believed in him. Her words stopped me in my tracks, because only souls who have passed through darkness can speak like that without trembling. And this is the truth I want you to whisper to yourself every day. You lost nothing when you were betrayed. They lost the rarest chance to touch a kind of love that the universe rarely places in human hands. If you're hearing these words and your heart stirs, it's because somewhere along your path you were too real for too long, so long that you forgot how to protect yourself. But trust me, nothing you gave from the heart was wasted. The universe never abandons the righteous, and soon you'll witness something I know will make your soul smile in silence. The one who hurt you will finally be confronted, not by you, but by their own conscience. And they will whisper to themselves, if only I had cherished the light I once held. Write this in the comments. I forgive, but I do not forget. I choose to move forward with my light. Because when you write that, you send a signal to the universe that says, I've learned my lesson, now it's time I live for me. In the next part, I will explain why karma is already in motion and why you don't need to do a single thing, because when truth arrives, it shakes the earth louder than any revenge could. If your soul feels ready for for something bigger. Do not leave this video. There are some things that don't need to be said out loud, and there are some truths that don't need to be exposed to shake an entire reality. You stayed quiet, not because you didn't know, but because you understood that truth finds its own way back when the time is right. In astrology, Saturn is the planet of discipline, limits, and karmic law. And when Saturn squares your Sagittarius sun, it opens a gateway, one where you no longer have to defend the truth, because the universe takes that role from you. This is the moment when everything done in the dark must face the light, not because you spoke up, not because you fought back, but because energy has laws of its own. Nothing can escape the echo of its vibration. Some thought they got away with it. Some thought you would stay silent forever, that you were too gentle, too forgiving, but they forgot. Silence does not mean there is no evidence. And calm does not mean there is no boundary. I want you to know something. Softly but truthfully, your silence is the highest form of trust. You don't need to scream in a crowd to prove you were betrayed. You don't need to show evidence or force anyone to bow their head, because in the eyes of energy, every vibration leaves a mark. Every action, no matter how small, is recorded. The universe does not judge, but the universe always balances. And when you've done your part in light, the rest is handled in the stillness of your silence. In the tarot, there is a card called Judgment. It's not about a courtroom, it's not about punishment, it's about a sacred moment, when every soul must finally face the truth they once tried to outrun. In Sagittarius, that moment is approaching your life now. The ones who hid, the ones who lied, the ones who twisted your trust. They are now standing at the door of judgment, a quiet confrontation, not from others but from within, from the dreams that will not let them rest, from the hollow they cannot fill, from the eyes they cannot meet in the mirror. You once asked yourself, do they ever regret it? Do they ever look back at what they did to me? And the answer is yes, not now, not the way you imagine, but there will be a moment when they look into someone else's eyes and recognize the same gaze you once gave them before they threw it away. No silence is ever meaningless when you keep peace in your heart. The universe begins rearranging the puzzle. Each truth returns to the surface, not to punish, but to restore balance. Do not carry out karma with your own hands. Let time, let vibration do what it was designed to do. When you choose truth, when you refuse to let hatred stain your soul, when you walk forward without demanding apologies, you enter a field of energy that only the chosen ones can access. If you've ever stayed silent, even when you knew you were betrayed, write in the comments, I choose truth, the universe will do the rest. Because that's more than a statement, it's a soul declaration. It means you've stepped out of the karmic loop and into a brighter, cleaner chapter. There's a gentle kind of comfort I want you to carry today. You don't need to see them pay to know you've healed. Because true healing is when you no longer let anyone turn you into a bitter version of yourself. And you know what? That is the most radiant, subtle, and powerful victory no one can take from you. Maybe you've lived too long in that quiet place, where you held your wounds in silence, where you pretended to be okay while your heart sank, where you smiled just to keep the world moving, even as your soul fractured beneath the surface. But now, let yourself release it all, not because they deserve your forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. Comment below. I release the past so my hands are open to receive new light. Because when you write it, you're not just opening a spiritual door, you're telling the universe, I've learned the lesson, now it's time to live the reward. In the next part, I'll be revealing how the planets, especially Pluto and its quiet movements through your 12th house, are signaling the collapse of something. But here's the truth. It's not your collapse, Sagittarius. It's the downfall of those who built trust on lies. If you feel that divine justice is approaching, stay close, because what's coming will help you believe again in the power of light and the quiet dignity of your truth. Some truths don't explode in one loud scream. They blossom slowly, like flowers blooming from old wounds, and some people who think they're safe in their comfort are quietly unraveling from within. No one else sees it, but the universe does. Pluto, the grave digger of the soul, doesn't knock. It arrives in silence, but it leaves behind earthquakes. It doesn't destroy, it purifies. So all that is false must fall away from the light. And now Pluto is entering your 12th house, Sagittarius, the space of secrets, of hidden enemies, of the unspoken things people believed would stay buried in the dark. But no, dear Sagittarius, when Pluto knocks, everything buried will rise to the surface. Not for revenge, but for cleansing, for closure, for healing that begins only when the truth is finally seen. Do you remember when your hand trembled holding your phone, waiting for an apology that never came? When you quietly asked yourself, was it because I wasn't good enough that they treated me that way? You've been blaming yourself for too long, while the one who should have faced their truth is still hiding behind excuses and masks. But every cycle comes to an end, and the universe doesn't stay silent forever. There will come a night, they'll wake up in a cold sweat, heart pounding, because of a dream they can't explain. Your eyes were in it. There will come a moment when they're surrounded by success, but something feels empty because once in that place, there was you, the one who believed in them more than they believed in themselves. It's not because you cursed them. It's not because you spoke ill of them. It's because they rejected their last chance to live in truth. And when you chose silence, the universe began to speak. When you chose to forgive, Pluto began to balance the scales. No one can hide forever behind the mask they've created, because that mask will eventually grow too heavy to breathe under. You don't need to expose them. The truth is the sharpest sword, and the brightest light never needs to scream to be seen. In the timelines unfolding ahead, you'll begin to notice. Those who once made you cry are now losing what they thought was untouchable. The relationships that once manipulated you are quietly crumbling from within. And most of all, you'll feel a shift, that strange sacred energy returning, the light within you coming back to life. You don't need to witness their downfall to heal, but you do deserve to know that what you felt was real. You weren't too sensitive. You weren't imagining things. You were a bearer of light in a world far too comfortable with the dark. If you've ever forgiven them, but still feel the ache of their silence, the absence of their gaze, leave just one dot in the comments, a quiet pause for your soul to finally exhale. Because sometimes, one small dot is all the universe needs to hear. I waited too long for something that never came, and now I choose to move on without the apology. Did you know the purer a soul is, the heavier the lessons it's asked to carry? Not because they deserve pain, but because they are the ones who can alchemize pain into peace. Not with revenge, but with light. And Sagittarius, you are one of those souls. Write this down. I let my light take care of the rest. This isn't just a phrase, it's a soul invocation. A sacred return to your own power, quiet but unstoppable. And in the next part, I'll share how you, a Sagittarius who once shattered into pieces, are now stepping into your most miraculous resurrection, where your light is no longer mistaken for shadow, but becomes the torch that guides others through the darkness. If you feel your soul awakening, stay with me, because what comes next is for those who have once lost their faith and are now finding their way back home to themselves. There are moments when it feels like you've lost everything. Love, trust, the laughter that once lit up your mornings, and then no one comes back. No one explains, no one asks, "Are you okay?" Let me say this gently, like a whisper from a soul who's seen you across many lifetimes. You weren't wrong for loving too much. You weren't weak for falling apart over someone who didn't deserve your light. Because even in the moment you thought you had nothing left, your light never went out. This is a deeper life lesson. For you, the Sagittarius sitting still in the shifting winds of the season, they may have taken your trust, they may have shaken your sense of worth, they may have rewritten the story and left you stranded in a memory that no longer felt like truth. But they never ever took the light within you. That light, it may have dimmed, grown quiet, gathered dust, but it was never gone. And it's when you reach the very bottom that the universe quietly opens another door where your inner light can rise again in full brilliance. I once read somewhere, the universe takes away what no longer fits to make space for something greater. But what no one tells you is this: that greater thing often arrives after nights of silent tears, after sleep that never comes, after wounds without names. And yet one day you'll rise, not because you forgot the pain, but because the wound became a part of you and no longer controls you. Have you noticed the nights right before the full moon, or the moments just before a lunar eclipse? If your heart aches for no reason, if your dreams replay old images, if someone suddenly pops into your mind out of nowhere, it's not random. It's Pluto gently turning the pages of your past, uncovering layer by layer, so you can finally step into deeper release. In your Sagittarius chart, the coming transits in the 12th house will stir memories you thought you had let go of, but not to pull you back, only to help you close that door for the last time. Have you ever found yourself standing on a hill, looking back at the road you've walked? Can you see that you survived? You've walked past people who couldn't see your worth. You've forgiven those who never knew how to love. You've kept walking even when no one reached for your hand. And that is why you deserve what's coming next, a destiny far greater than the pain you once carried. When you see someone finally paying the price for what they did to you, just stand still. Don't celebrate, don't clap, just exhale and let it go. Because this is not a moment for revenge, it's a moment for grace. This is where you rise, not by standing over others, but by standing within yourself, proud that you didn't let hate define your soul. You chose a path not everyone has the courage to walk, the path of keeping your humanity, even after being deeply wounded. Someone once asked me, "How do I know I've truly healed?" And I said, when you look back and your heart no longer trembles, when you think of them and your light no longer flickers, when you can smile without needing anyone to witness your strength. If you're standing at the edge between darkness and light, write this down. I choose the light. I release the pain to step into my destiny. That's not just an affirmation. It's a sacred commitment to your soul, that you're no longer orbiting around what you lost, you're orbiting around what's finally arriving. And you know what? When a Sagittarius rises from pain, they don't just survive, they become the ones who light the way. The storytellers, the healers, the seers of truth, not because they read it in a book, but because they lived it, felt it, endured it, and still kept their soul intact. If you're still here reading these words, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Place your hand over your heart and whisper, "I never truly broke. I was being remade in sacred silence." And what you are about to touch will be worthy of every scar you've carried. In the next part, I'll speak about your return, but not as the one who comes back to heal the past, as the one stepping into a whole new fate. a fate where you begin attracting higher opportunities and soul-aligned connections. So if you feel the light within you starting to glow again, don't dim it, stay with me, because what comes next is the part you've been waiting for. You rose like a phoenix. No crown, no applause, just a heart that had turned to ash but never lost its kindness. And the universe saw that, while others are still searching for a way out of the darkness. You Sagittarius have chosen the light, and now you are being lifted, not but by the energy you sowed, even on days when all you had left was hope. You may not see the results just yet. You may still ask, have I really made it through? But listen to me, a person who loved truly, hurt deeply, and lived honestly will never be left behind. When the moon and sun meet in sacred crossing points, new gates begin to open. And for you, the Sagittarius who walked through the darkest corridors of the 12th house, light is no longer something you must chase. It's already on its way back to you, a new invitation, an unexpected opportunity. A stranger whose presence stirs something calm and sacred in your heart. A door of light opens just when you thought you had reached the end of the road. You don't have to chase after luck. You are the blessing the universe is preparing for someone truly worthy. And in work, in your purpose, in love, you're about to reclaim what you once thought was gone for good. A long-awaited validation of your worth. A project you thought was canceled, now rising from the ashes. A person who once cut the connection, now returning with awakened eyes. Sometimes what we receive isn't an apology, but a whole new world, where apologies are no longer needed. You may never hear them say, I was wrong, but you'll feel their silence, their retreat. You'll notice how they watch you quietly from a distance, because deep down they know you've outgrown their reach. You were not born to break, you were born to walk forward, so purely that even the light cannot help but follow you. You don't lead with power, you don't influence with loud words. You lead with a heart that once shattered, but still beats for life, for truth, for love. You don't need an apology to know you deserve love again. You don't need to prove yourself to be welcomed back into this life. You only need to keep being you. The rest the universe will handle. If this message speaks to you, I invite you to write down, I don't need to prove anything. The universe is proving it for me. This is more than a sentence. It's an energetic declaration. It's your quiet but powerful signal to the stars that you're no longer at war with your past. You've chosen to step into your light, softly but triumphantly, and you know what? This time your return will feel different. You're no longer just the survivor of the wreckage. You are the architect of something better, for yourself and for those still lost in the dark. You will become a flame of inspiration. You don't need to stand on a stage. You only need to live truthfully as yourself. And they will feel your light, even if they never say it out loud. And then you'll realize, I didn't come back for revenge. I came back to keep living as the most honest version of myself, to become living proof that light never bows down. In the final part of this journey, I'll take you to an open ending, where you don't just close an old chapter, but begin a brand new one, led by the light of your soul, where you no longer ask, am I worthy of love? But you affirm, I am love, I am light, I have returned. If your heart is quietly smiling right now, don't leave just yet. The ending may hold the gift you've always deserved. Sagittarius, you've walked through so much, haven't you? You stayed silent when others shouted. You forgave those who never said sorry. You chose to hold on to light, even when the world around you crumbled into shadows. And today, you're still here, not as someone who broke, but as someone who rose, softly but unshakably. You don't need to fight to prove your light. The light will speak for you. That's the most beautiful kind of freedom, when you no longer live to be validated, but to be true to yourself. And you know what? This journey was never just about who betrayed you. It's about who stayed with their own heart, even when the world turned cold. And that person is you. You moved through the pain. You didn't let bitterness win. You became a quiet flame, slow but steady, silent but impossible to extinguish. And that is why you deserve everything beautiful that's coming your way. If this journey has touched your heart, leave a message for the universe. I'm ready to step into my new chapter of light. Because you know what? When you write it down, you open a doorway, and the light from your soul might just shine on someone else's path. Someone still standing where you once stood, with their eyes still tightly shut. If any of this means something to you, drop a like. Share this video. Help spread this healing energy to those who need it most. And don't forget to follow the channel, because the most magical part is still on its way. Not yesterday, not even now, but very soon, right when the universe knows you're ready. In the next video, I'll tell you about a surprising sign, one that appears right as a portal opens for Sagittarius. In finances, in love, and in spirit. It won't just be an opportunity. It will be a promise that the light you thought you'd lost is coming back multiplied. So if you feel you've healed, walk with me, because the next chapter won't just be a resurrection. It will be the takeoff of a soul who once fell, but now flies higher than ever before.